Hey everybody, it's Wojo. Hoping that you guys are having a fantastic day. Today we're going to talk about combining functions, which is a little bit different than the kind of work we've been talking about, but it does review a lot of the things that we have studied this semester, so we're hoping you can kind of put some ideas together and this will make some sense to you. So in your notes, if you guys can kind of follow along and write these down and try to make sense of it, we're going to start with an example. Let me show you what a problem is going to look like here. So today you're going to be asked to combine functions. Now up here we have three separate functions, basically three different y equals equations, but to tell them apart they call one f of x, one g of x, and one h of x. So if they ask about f of x, they're talking about the equation x minus 6. If they ask for g of x, they're talking about this equation here, and of course h of x is negative 5x. In our work today you're going to be asked to do something like this, to find f plus g of x. And so this is basically asking us to combine the functions, the f function and the g function together through addition. Now you can combine functions through addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. There are lots of ways that we can combine functions. Today we're just going to combine functions through addition or subtraction. Tomorrow we'll look at how we can combine functions with multiplication. So if you see a problem like this, I think the most important part is just getting a sense of what it's asking when it's doing this. What does it want us to do? F plus g of x is basically saying I want you to take your f of x equation and add it to your g of x equation. So take whatever f of x is and just add it to g of x. And again, this is just a fancy name to talk about these functions here. So f plus g of x wants us to take the quantity x minus 6, that's the f of x equation, and add it to the g of x equation. The g of x equation, of course, is 2x squared plus 3x minus 5. So we would say f plus g of x is equal to, if I took the f of x function, so this one here is the f of x, and this one here is the g of x, and I just added them together. To add them together, we're just going to combine like terms. And so x's get added to x's and x squareds get added to x squareds. And we always want to write it in standard form. So that's highest power to lowest power. So as I look at all my terms here, I'm looking for the highest power. It looks like x squared is the highest power. As I look through here, there's no other x squared. So that positive 2x squared is going to be part of my solution. And it doesn't matter if you do this or not, but kind of as I work, I kind of cross off each thing I did so I don't miss anything. So the next highest power is the x's. Here it's just a single x or a positive 1x. And I can combine that here with a positive 3x. So 1x plus 3x is going to make 4x's. So if I put my x's together through addition, that's what I'm going to get. And at the end then I just have my constants, negative 6 plus my negative 5. So negative 6 and negative 5 combined makes negative 11. And so if someone asked at the beginning, what is f plus g of x? My final solution would be 2x squared plus 4x minus 11. And so that's kind of our work today, is just putting these functions together. So they're going to give us maybe 2 or 3 functions, and they're going to ask us to do some different things with them. So in example 2, I might ask for something a little different. Let's see if you guys can figure out what they're asking for me to do here. If I said I want to do g minus h of x. What are they asking us for to do here? And again, a lot of today's work isn't new math. It's just learning how to read what you're looking at. So they gave us the 3 functions up here, and now they want us to take the g function and subtract the h function. And so I can think of that as 2 separate things. I can think of g of x, and then I'm going to subtract the h of x function. So I'm going to subtract out the h of x. And so if I look at this, my g of, copy this down, my g of x equation was 2x squared plus 3x minus 5. So I'm just going to write what g of x was. So that's what that equation is. That's all of this right here. And again, I got that from the top. And I'm going to subtract. Now this is important. We're subtracting out what h of x is. So I'm going to put my subtract, and then I have to write my h of x. So whatever my h of x is, I'm going to be subtracting that whole thing. Now in this one, it's just negative 5x. Don't forget that when you subtract, you're basically, that's the same as adding the negatives. And so I can think of subtract a negative 5 as a plus 5, or I can think of it as subtract a negative 5. Either way works. Just when you go through it, just be careful of what you're subtracting. So if I want to just simplify this now, my g minus h of x, I'm going to do the same thing. Adding, subtracting is always like terms. So I'm going to take a look at my highest power first, which is the 2x squared. There's no other x squared, so that's going to stay. Again, I like to cross them off as I go so I don't miss anything. Now I'm going to look at the positive 3x. Now I can take this positive 3x and I can subtract a negative 5. I'm going to subtract whatever this function is. So I'm subtracting a negative. So 3 subtract a negative 5. Remember, subtracting a negative is the same as adding, but if you're not sure, you can always use your calculator and you can type in 3 subtract a negative 5. And when you do that, it will tell you, if you type in 3 minus negative 5, that it is 8. So if you're not sure how to do it, you can always use your calculator to do those subtractions for every one of those. So 3 subtract negative 5, that's a positive 8x. And then I have a negative 5, so those x's are canceled. And then I have a negative 5, which there's nothing to subtract from, so it's just going to be a minus 5. So I'm just taking each equation and I'm just subtracting them from each other. The only thing I'd want you to be careful of is if you're subtracting a quantity. So let me give one that I think students might mess up on, and then I'll give you one to try, and then you guys will have some time to try some on your own. So let me give you one that I think students might mess up on. What if I asked for f minus g of x? It doesn't look like it would be any harder. Here we did g minus h, but there is something that students often make mistakes on here if you're not careful. So I'm hoping you're still with me as we go through this one. So again, I'm taking my f function, f of x, and I'm subtracting my g function. So I can think of that as my f of x function minus my g of x function. And I know function notation is something that's a little new to you. You guys haven't seen it much, but this is just a fancy way of showing us what equations we're talking about. So I look at the top again. My f of x function was x minus 6. So I'm going to have x minus 6, and then I'm subtracting. So I'm going to take this subtraction sign, and I'm subtracting this entire equation. I'm not just subtracting the first term. I'm not just subtracting the 2x squared, but I'm subtracting all of these parts. And so the easy way of showing that is to put your subtract sign and then have some kind of bracket or parenthesis and say I'm subtracting this entire quantity, 2x squared plus 3x minus 5. And again, if you're not sure where I just got that from, that g of x, that's what it says at the very top. It'll be part of the homework. It'll tell you what each function is. So if it says g of x is this, then wherever I get to the g of x part, I can just replace it with that. At this point, we're just going to do some subtraction. And again, I just want to start with the highest power first. So x to the first is not my highest power because I have an x to the second. Now here I don't have any x to the second. So it's like I have 0 x to the seconds out here, and I'm subtracting 2 of them. So if I had 0 and then I subtracted 2, how many would I have? Well, 0 minus 2 is negative 2. So I have negative 2x squareds. All right, my x squareds are taken care of. Now let's deal with my x's. I have 1 x here. There's no number in front, so we assume that coefficient's 1. And I'm not adding 3 to it. Even though this says plus 3, remember this subtraction sign goes to all of these. So I'm subtracting each part out. So I have 1x take away 3x's, or 1x take away a positive 3. So 1 take away 3 would be the same as negative 2x. And again, if you're not sure, you can type it in. 1 take away 3, and it's going to give you that negative 2. And then we just say, what do I have negative 2 of? Oh, I have negative 2 of these x's. And then at the end, I have negative 6 take away a negative 5. Some people think of it as just negative 6 subtract 5 because that's what we did up here. We did negative 6 subtract 5 is negative 11. But in that one, we were adding. And because we were adding, I can do negative 6 plus negative 5. In this one, we're not adding, we're subtracting. So what's negative 6 take away a negative 5? So negative 6 take away negative 5. And again, if you're not great with mental math, just type it in your calc. Negative 6 take away negative 5. that would give you a -1. And so it's basically saying the same as -6 plus 5. So we have -1 at the end. And so that would be the answer to f minus g of x. So go through the assignment today. You guys are going to be combining functions. Don't forget that there's other ways we can combine functions. We'll look tomorrow at how to combine these same functions through multiplication. But that's pretty much it. I think there's a set of problems for you guys to try. There'll be a chance to check your answers. You can look at the solutions and hopefully you can make sense of them if you get them wrong. And bring your questions the next day. I'll talk to you guys later. I hope you have a great day. Don't forget to work on the entire assignment, so check Google Classroom, make sure you're doing everything. And you can always email me if you have questions as well. I'll be in the district, I just won't be in the classroom. So feel free to email questions if you guys have them. Otherwise, have a fantastic day, and we'll see you tomorrow.